Welcome back to Farang Footprints, where real stories unfold far away from home, under foreign skies, in places where dreams often arrive faster than wisdom. Today's story is told by Markus, a man who spent decades working himself to the bone, believing discipline and patience would always protect him. He saved carefully. He followed rules. He trusted numbers. Until one holiday in Thailand taught him that money earned over a lifetime can disappear much faster when love feels real and the warning signs are smiling at you from across a bar. This is not a story about stupidity. It is a story about hope, exhaustion, and the dangerous belief that good intentions are enough. This is Markus' story, told in his own words.
I never thought of myself as reckless. If anything, my problem was the opposite. I planned too much, saved too much, worked too much. For most of my adult life, I lived by the same rhythm: wake up early, commute, work 10 to 12 hours, come home tired, repeat. Switzerland rewards discipline, and I was disciplined to the core. I worked in industrial logistics, project management for large construction suppliers. Good pay, high pressure, no glamour. The kind of job where mistakes cost millions and success is measured in silence, because when things work, nobody notices. By the time I was 48, I had done what I was supposed to do. No debt, no scandals, no addictions. Just a quiet apartment outside Zurich, a sensible car, and 400 Swiss francs sitting in accounts I rarely looked at. I was not rich, but I was safe. And safety, I believed, was the same thing as happiness. I had been married once, briefly. It ended politely, painfully, without drama. Two people realizing they were better colleagues than lovers. After that, life became smaller, predictable, efficient. Vacations were hiking trips. Conversations were practical. Loneliness arrived quietly, like fog, never dramatic enough to justify change. Until one winter evening, after another 12-hour day, I booked a flight to Thailand, and not because I wanted adventure, because I was tired. I told myself it would be simple. 2 weeks, Sunday, warmth, a place where nobody expected anything from me. Pattaya came up first when I searched. Cheap flights, easy hotels, familiar stories. I knew the reputation. Everyone does. But I also knew something else. Men like me do not go to Thailand looking for trouble. We go because we are empty. When I landed, the heat wrapped around me like a heavy blanket. My shoulders dropped instantly. Palm trees, neon signs, scooters buzzing like insects. It felt chaotic and strangely freeing. The first nights were uneventful. Walking, eating, watching other men with their stories written all over their faces. Some looked lost. Some looked arrogant. Some looked broken. I told myself I was different. I was not chasing women. I was not lonely. I was just open. I met Nok on my 4th night. She was standing near the entrance of a bar that looked cleaner than the others. No shouting, no grabbing. She smiled, not wide, not rehearsed, just enough. How long you stay Thailand? She asked. 2 weeks, I said. She nodded, like that information mattered. Her English was soft, careful, not fluent, but thoughtful. We talked about food, about Switzerland, about her hometown near Burum. She did not touch me, did not push drinks. When she laughed, she covered her mouth, a detail that struck me as shy, almost old-fashioned. I stayed for 1 beer, then another. By the time I left, my phone had a new contact, and my head had a new narrative. I did not sleep well that night, not because of lust, because of relief. It felt good to be seen without being assessed. No questions about salary. No subtle comparisons. She asked about my work. Yes, but with curiosity, not calculation. At least, that is how it felt. We met again the next day. Then again. She showed me markets, small temples, a beach outside the city where tourists rarely went. She paid sometimes, insisted, even. This my day off, she said. No bar. That mattered to me. I told myself I was being careful, observant, Swiss. Before I left Thailand, we sat on the beach watching the sun drop into the sea. She leaned against my shoulder. You come back? She asked. I hesitated. I had never planned beyond my calendar before. Yes, I said finally. I think I will, she smiled. And in that moment, I did not see danger. I saw possibility. Back in Switzerland, the cold felt sharper. My apartment felt smaller, quieter. Messages arrived every morning. Good day. Nah. Eat breakfast. Work hard. Markus. She remembered details, asked about my projects. When I told colleagues, they joked. Careful, they said. You know how that ends. I smiled politely. They did not know me. 6 months later, I returned. This time, it felt different. She waited at the airport. She cried when she saw me. Real tears. That should have been my first warning. Instead, it felt like proof. During that second trip, she told me her dream. A small cafe, coffee, cakes, smoothies. Near a road with local traffic, not tourists. A place for family, she said. Not bar life. I listened. I asked questions. I ran numbers in my head without meaning to. Rent was cheap. Staff cheap. Equipment affordable. I told myself I was not investing. I was helping. When I flew home again, my account still showed 400 CHF. But something had shifted. For the first time in my life, that number did not feel like safety. It felt like potential. And that, I would later learn, was the most expensive illusion of all. When I returned to Switzerland the second time, nothing looked different, but everything felt wrong. The airport was quiet, orderly, efficient. People moved with purpose, eyes forward, headphones on. No one smiled without a reason. At home, I unpacked slowly. The smell of my apartment felt sterile, clean, controlled. I sat at my kitchen table, that first evening, staring at the wall, my phone lying face down beside my plate. I knew if I turned it over, there would be a message. There always was. Miss you already. Sleep good? Today raining. Make coffee think of you. Small sentences. Simple grammar. Heavy meaning. I answered every one. At first, it felt harmless. Comforting even. A routine replacing the old silence. We spoke every day. Morning for me, evening for her. Sometimes video calls. Sometimes just voice. She showed me her room. Modest, neat. A small altar with photos of her parents. A cracked mirror above a wooden dresser. She showed me her work schedule. Late nights. Few days off. I tired, she said often. But one day no bar. That sentence appeared again and again. One day no bar. I told myself I was not naive. I knew bar work was not romantic. I knew money flowed unevenly there. I knew stories. But I also knew this. She did not ask for anything, not money, not gifts. When I offered to send something small, for groceries, for electricity, she refused. Not girlfriend money, she said. I work. That mattered to me more than it should have. At work, my focus slipped. I found myself rereading emails, missing details I would normally catch instantly. Colleagues noticed. You okay? My supervisor asked one afternoon. Fine, I said automatically. But I was not. I had something on my mind. Something warm, emotional, alive. And Switzerland, suddenly, felt cold in comparison. It was during our third month apart that not mentioned the cafe again. Not directly, not as a request, just stories. This place closed near my room, she said one night. Old shop, empty long time. Another day. My friend opened small coffee. She happy now. Then, if I have cafe, I can stop bar. The sentence hung in the air. She did not look at the camera when she said it. She looked down. I felt something twist in my chest. Healed? Hope? Responsibility? I did what I always did when faced with a decision. I calculated. Rent? Low. Renovation? Manageable. Equipment? One-time cost. I opened spreadsheets late at night, pretending it was just curiosity. I told myself this was not about love. This was about helping someone help themselves. The first transfer was small, 50 Just to look, I said. For papers, maybe. She resisted at first. Too much, she said. I insisted. She cried, actual tears streaming down her face through a shaky video connection. No man helped me like this before, she said. I felt tall, useful, needed. That was the moment, though I did not know it then, when the line disappeared between help and investment, between affection and obligation. The next weeks moved fast. She sent photos of the shop, the cracked tiles, the dusty counter. She showed me sketches, menu ideas. Western cake sell good, she said. You know cake. I laughed. I did not know cake, but I liked being asked. Another transfer followed. 10 0 CHF. Then another. 20 0 CHF. Always with explanations, receipts, photos. She documented everything. It felt transparent, professional, safe. Friends started noticing changes. I stopped joining hikes, stopped staying late for drinks after work. When asked why, I smiled. I am planning something, I said. They assumed retirement or a project. I did not correct them. One evening, a colleague pulled me aside. You seen someone? He asked. Yes, I said. In Thailand. Yes. He hesitated. Just, be careful. I felt irritation flare up. Why did everyone assume danger? Why did no one believe happiness could come from somewhere unfamiliar? I know what I am doing, I said, and I believed it. By the time I booked my third trip, I had transferred just over 80 ch. Still safe, I told myself. A fraction of my savings. Controlled. I kept the rest untouched. Proof that I was still rational. When I arrived in Pattaya again, the cafe was already painted. Bright colors. New sign. Her name. In Thai letters I could not read. She ran toward me when she saw me, jumped into my arms. Thank you, she whispered into my shoulder. Not, I love you. Not, I missed you. Thank you. I did not notice the difference. The opening was small. Family. Friends. A monk blessing the space. I stood awkwardly near the door, hands clasped behind my back, watching people bow, laugh, eat. I did not understand most of what was said. But I understood the looks. Curious. Assessing. Farang. I smiled politely. I had never minded standing out before. That night, lying beside her, I felt something I had not felt in years. Purpose. I was building something. Not just a business. A future. And futures, I believed, were always worth investing in. What I did not know yet was that once money becomes part of love, it stops being neutral. It listens. It watches. And eventually, it decides who is real and who is replaceable. The calf did not feel real at first. I stood there on the second morning after the opening, coffee in my hand, watching Nok move behind the counter, someone who had always belonged there. She wore a simple apron, her hair tied back, her smile softer than in the bar, calmer. His version of her felt earned. This is better life, she said, handing a cup to a customer. No loud music, no drunk men. I wanted to believe those words were final, that this chapter was closed. The first days were slow but promising. A few locals, some tourists who wandered in, curious about a new place. Nok greeted everyone warmly, switching between Thai and broken English. She looked proud. I felt proud too, standing just a step behind, invisible, but essential. I told myself that was enough. By the end of the first week, I noticed the cracks, not dramatic ones. Small, easy to ignore things. The fridge was older than I expected. The espresso machine leaked slightly. The pastry supplier was inconsistent. Sometimes the cafe opened late. Sometimes it closed early. No problem, Nok said when I mentioned it. First month always like this. I nodded. I had never opened a cafe. What did I know? Money, however, speaks a language I do understand. In the evenings, after closing, Nok sat beside me with her phone, scrolling through expenses. Rent, electricity, ingredients, repairs. More cost than we think, she said softly. Not accusing, not demanding, just stating facts. I suggested patience, marketing, time. She agreed quickly. Too quickly. The second request came gently. A problem with water pump, she said one night, lying beside me. Owner say we fix. How much? I asked. She hesitated. Not sure. Maybe. 80 CHF. The number landed heavier than it should have. I frowned. That seems high. She turned toward me, eyes wide, almost startled. Sorry, she said quickly. I asked again. She did not ask again. Instead, 2 days later, she showed me a quote, official looking, stamped, 9,500 CHF. I transferred the money without arguing, not because I fully believed it, but because I did not want to be the man who suddenly stopped believing. That was when the tone shifted, subtly, quietly. Before, every transfer had been met with gratitude, sometimes tears. Now, it was met with relief. Good, she said. We fix problem, no emotion, no hesitation, as if it was expected. Back in Switzerland, my life continued, technically. I worked, I ate, I slept, but everything felt like a placeholder. The cafe updates became the highlight of my days. Photos of drinks, short videos of customers laughing, Noak smiling behind the counter. But something was missing. She stopped showing herself. Instead of selfies, I got pictures of tables, cups, receipts. She was still there, just less present. I began checking the cafe social media page myself. Comments were mixed. Nice place, too expensive. Slow service, cute staff. I asked Noak about that. Just customer talk, she said. No meaning. But her tone was sharper than before, defensive. One evening, she called me unusually late. Her voice was tight. Their problem, she said. My stomach sank. A competitor had opened nearby. Another cafe. Cheaper prices. Sales dropped immediately. Need promotion, she said. New menu. New sign. How much, I asked, already knowing the answer would hurt. She exhaled slowly. Maybe 25 CHF. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because the number was absurd. That's not promotion, I said. It is another investment. She was silent. Then, if no help, maybe fail. The word fail echoed louder than it should have. That night, I did not sleep. I lay staring at the ceiling, listening to the hum of the refrigerator, thinking about numbers. I had started this with control, with boundaries. Now those boundaries felt negotiable. I told myself I was not being manipulated. This was just business. Businesses need capital. I transferred 12,500 CHF. A compromise. She thanked me, briefly, then asked when the rest could come. That was the first time I felt anger. Not explosive. Contained. I said half. I reminded her. Yes, she said quickly. But problem still same. I wanted to shout. Instead, I went quiet. And silence, I learned, scared her more than anger ever could. When I returned to Thailand again, 6 months after the cafe opened, I noticed things immediately. The cafe looked busier, but Noak looked tired. There were new staff, young, unfamiliar faces. Too many. Payroll, I realized, must be bleeding money. I asked her about it. Need help, she said. People complain if slow. I nodded. Again. One night, after closing, I asked directly, Are we making profit? She avoided my eyes. Not yet. How much are we losing? She hesitated longer this time. Then gave a number that made my chest tighten. Monthly. Not one time. I asked to see the accounts. She stiffened. Why you no trust me? The question landed like a slap. I do trust you, I said, but I need to understand. She crossed her arms. You Farang, you no understand Thai business. The word Farang cut deeper than it should have. That night, we did not sleep together. She turned away from me. I lay awake, listening to the fan, realizing something important. Love had stopped being the foundation. Money was. The next morning, I went for a walk alone, past the cafe, past the bars, past places that now looked different. I noticed how many men sat exactly where I once sat, watching, believing. I felt a chill despite the heat. When I returned, Noak was already awake. She handed me coffee without smiling. I need more help, she said. No build-up, no explanation, just a statement. How much? I asked quietly. She named a number. A big one. One that crossed a line I had promised myself I would never cross. I did not answer immediately. For the first time since meeting her, I said nothing. And in that silence, I saw something flicker across her face. Not fear, calculation. That was the moment I knew, deep down, undeniable, that I was no longer choosing to help. I was being tested. And whatever decision I made next would decide whether I was her partner or just her last resource. There is a moment in every long mistake when your body understands the truth before your mind is ready to accept it. For me, that moment came on a Tuesday afternoon, sitting alone in the cafe I had helped create, watching Noak laugh with someone I had never seen before. He was not a customer. Customers do not lean behind the counter. They do not touch the espresso machine like it belongs to them. They do not speak to the owner in a tone that carries familiarity. This man did all three. I arrived earlier than planned that day. No message, no warning. I wanted to surprise her. That alone should have told me something had changed. The bell above the door rang softly as I stepped inside. The cafe smelled the same: coffee, sugar, warm milk, but the energy felt off. Different rhythm, different balance. Nock stood behind the counter, her back to me, laughing at something the man said. Her laugh was lighter than it had been with me recently. When she turned and saw me, the smile froze, just for a second. But seconds matter. "Oh," she said, "you early. Not happy you are here. Not I missed you. Just early." The man turned and looked at me. Mid-30s, maybe early 40s. Well-dressed. Clean shoes. Tie. He nodded politely, then turned back to Nock. "Customer?" I asked. She hesitated. "Friend," she said. "Help with supplier." The explanation felt thin. He did not introduce himself, did not leave. He stayed. I sat at a table near the window, pretending to scroll through my phone while watching them. They spoke quickly in Thai, too quickly. I caught only fragments. Numbers, dates, locations, business talk, maybe. But his posture was relaxed, in a way mine no longer was. He leaned in without asking permission. When Nock touched his arm to emphasize a point, she did not pull away. I told myself not to read into it. But my stomach did not listen. When he finally left, she came over with a forced smile. "Coffee?" she asked. "Yes," I said. "Who was that?" She wiped the counter. Slowly. "Just friend," she repeated. "Help business." "What is his name?" Another pause. "Sunchai." I nodded. "Does he work here?" Number. "Does he invest?" Number. "Then why does he talk like he owns the place?" Her eyes flashed. "You jealous?" The word hit harder than I expected. "I am cautious," he said. "And involved." She exhaled sharply. "You Farang think too much." That sentence. Again, always the same weapon. "You are different. You do not understand. You should not question." The rest of the day passed in polite distance. She stayed busy. I stayed quiet. At closing time, I asked if we could talk. She agreed, reluctantly. We sat at the small table in the back, away from the counter. "I need clarity," I said. She folded her arms. "Papa, what?" "About money. About roles. About trust." Her jaw tightened. "You do not trust me." "I trust you emotionally," I said carefully. "But financially, I need transparency." She laughed, not kindly. "You think I steal from you?" I think I do not know where my money goes." Silence. Then, "You help because you want," she said. "I never force." The words were technically true, and completely dishonest. I asked again to see the full accounts. She refused. "Thai business private," she said. "You not my husband." The sentence lingered, a boundary I had not known existed, or maybe one that had just been drawn. That night, we slept side by side without touching. Her phone buzzed several times. She turned the screen away. I did not ask. I already knew. The next days revealed more. Small things. The capital date opened later than usual. Sometimes Noak was not there when I stopped by. Staff could not answer basic questions. I noticed new inventory, expensive, unnecessary. I asked about it. "Promotion," she said. The word had lost all meaning. One afternoon, I decided to do something I should have done months earlier. I spoke to the landlord, alone. He recognized me immediately. "You Knock's husband?" he asked. "No," I said. "Partner." He nodded politely. "She say, calf furs," he said. "Her name on contract." My chest tightened. "What about investment?" I asked. He shrugged. "Not my business." The truth settled slowly. The calf was ever ours. It was hers. I was funding. That evening, I confronted her, directly, calmly. "The calf is only in your name," I said. She did not deny it. "That's safer," she replied. "Foreign name problem." "You did not tell me." "You did not ask?" The logic was flawless and brutal. I asked about Sumchai. This time, she did not pretend. "He help with money sometimes," she said. She avoided my eyes. The words struck deep. A Thai man lending money to a business I funded, a business I did not own. Faith, suddenly very small. "Is he more involved than I am?" I asked quietly. She sighed. "Why, you ask stupid question?" Because it was not stupid. Because the answer scared her. That night, the argument exploded. Not loud. Cold. Words sharpened into weapons. "You control me," she said. "I support you," I replied. "You think you buy me." "I think you hide from me," she cried. Real tears. But something was missing. Shame. The next morning, she did not wake me. She left early. Her side of the bed was cold. I walked to the calf loan. It was closed. A handwritten sign hung on the door. One later, I sat on the steps and waited. Hours passed. No one came. When she finally arrived, she looked startled to see me. "You wait long?" she asked. "Yes." She unlocked the door. Inside, things had changed. More chairs. Different layout. Decisions made without me. That afternoon, she finally said it. "I need more money," she said. No softness. No apology. "How much?" I asked. The number she gave was devastating. It crossed 6 figures. CHF. I laughed, a short, bitter sound. "No," I said. Her face hardened instantly. Then something colder appeared. Contempt. "If you no help," she said slowly, "maybe you go home." The sentence landed with finality. Not a threat, a calculation. In that moment, everything aligned. The calf, the delays, the secrecy, some kai. I had never been her partner. I had been her bridge. And now she was deciding whether I was still useful. I stood up. "I need time," I said. She nodded, already detached. That night, alone in my hotel room, I opened my banking app. The number stared back at me. 400 CHF. Almost gone, not stolen. Given, willingly. I did not sleep. Not from panic, but from clarity. The worst realization was not that I was being used. It was that some part of me had known all along, and chose hope anyway. There is a strange calm that comes after the last lie has been spoken. Not relief, not peace, just the absence of hope. I woke up that morning without checking my phone, without rehearsing conversations in my head, without imagining apologies that would never come. For the first time since arriving in Thailand, I felt tired in a way sleep could not fix. I did not go to the cafe. That alone felt like a betrayal, not of her, but of the version of myself who had believed this place meant something. Instead, I walked. No destination, no plan, just heat, concrete, noise. Pattaya looks different when you stop pretending it is romantic. Streets do not change. You do. I noticed things I had ignored before. The same faces repeating in different bars, the same promises recycled with new accents, the same tired men telling themselves, "This time is different." I had been one of them, just dressed better, just quieter. Around noon, my phone buzzed. A message from Nook. "Where you? We need talk." No greeting, no concern, just business. I replied, "Tonight." She did not respond. I spent the afternoon sitting in my hotel room, going through bank statements. Every transfer told a story. Small amounts at first, reasonable, then larger ones, justified, and numbers so big they stopped feeling real. Each one signed with trust. Each one approved by love. I calculated what remained. Enough to leave, not enough to rebuild. At sunset, I went to the cafe. It was open. Izzy stood behind the counter, composed, efficient, beautiful in a way that now felt rehearsed. Some chai was there again. This time, he did not pretend. He nodded at me like a man acknowledging another man's place. Lower. We spoke in the back room. All three of us. No raised voices. No drama. Just facts. Some chai spoke first. Calm, measured. He explained that he had been involved from the beginning. That he had helped Nok manage risks. That he was protecting the business. I asked what that meant. He smiled. It means the calf survives, he said. With or without you. I turned to Nok. Is he your partner? I asked. She hesitated, then nodded. In business, she said. And otherwise? I asked. Silence. Too long. The truth arrived without ceremony. Some chai was not just her partner. He was her husband, legally, for years, living in another province, supporting family matters. I felt nothing at first, just a hollow pressure behind my eyes. You told me you were single, I said. She did not deny it. You never ask marriage paper, she replied softly. There it was again. Technical truth. Moral emptiness. I stood up slowly. How long? I asked. She looked down. From before you, she said. The words fell like ash. I asked the question I had avoided for months. Did you ever love me? She did not answer immediately. Then, I care, she said. You good man. Not love. Utility. Some chai cleared his throat. We should discuss finances, he said. I laughed. Loud this time. Uncontrolled. You mean what is left? I asked. He did not flinch. They wanted more, not out of desperation, but because I had set a precedent, and precedents do not argue. I told them no, clearly, firmly. For the first time, Nok's face changed. Not sadness, anger. You promised me life, she said. No, I replied. I promised support. You promised honesty. She turned away. The conversation ended without closure. No shouting, no tears, just distance. And paperwork I was never part of. That night, I packed, and not everything, just essentials, clothes, documents, the envelope with my remaining money. I left the key on the table. At the airport the next morning, my phone buzzed again. A message from Nok. You leave like this. I stared at the screen, then typed. I arrived like this too, alone. I did not send anything else. On the plane, as Pattaya disappeared beneath the clouds, I felt something I had not expected. Grief. Not for her. For myself. For the man who had believed love could be proven with transfers. Back in Switzerland, winter greeted me with silence. Snow instead of heat. Order instead of chaos. Friends asked what happened. I said, Thailand. They nodded. As if that explained everything. The money was gone. The calf lived on. I checked once. Online. Photos of Nok smiling behind the counter. Some chai beside her. Husband and wife. No mention of me. Why would there be? I thought I would feel rage. I did not. Just a quiet, permanent awareness. Some lessons do not burn. They freeze. I went back to work. All hours. Familiar routines. The same discipline that had earned me the money now helped me survive without it. Sometimes, late at night, I remember the early days. Her laugh. The beach. The dream. I do not curse it. I do not romanticize it. I accept it for what it was. A story I needed to live, to understand my limits. I did not lose everything. I lost an illusion, and that cost me 400 CHF. The strange thing about losing everything is that life does not stop to acknowledge it. The trains still run on time. The supermarkets stay open. People complain about weather and prices, as if nothing in the world has shifted. And yet, for me, everything had. I returned to Switzerland in the middle of winter. The cold hit differently after Thailand. Not just the temperature, the precision of it. Cold that does not surprise you. Cold that arrives exactly when expected. There was comfort in that. My apartment looked untouched. The same furniture, the same neutral colors, the same quiet order I had once believed was boring. Now it felt merciful. I unpacked slowly, not because I was tired, but because every item felt like proof that some version of my life had survived. The first weeks were mechanical. Wake up, work, eat, sleep. I did not tell anyone the full story. Not of shame, but because words felt insufficient. How do you explain that you lost 400 CHF without ever being robbed? Then you handed it over, one decision at a time, friends asked carefully. So, what happened? I answered vaguely. It did not work. They nodded. People prefer endings they can digest. At night, the memories arrived, uninvited, not the betrayal, but the hope, the mornings in Pattaya, when the future felt wide open, the early messages from Nak, the way she used to say my name. Those were the moments that hurt, not because they were fake, but because they were real for a while. I expected anger. It never came. Instead, there was a quiet inventory of choices, of silences, of moments where I could have asked harder questions and did not because I was weak, but because I wanted to belong. I realized something uncomfortable. Thailand had not taken advantage of me. I had taken advantage of my own optimism. I had mistaken generosity for safety, affection for alignment, attention for commitment. Months passed. Spring arrived. The snow melted into clean, predictable streets. I began saving again, not obsessively, just responsibly. Money had lost its illusion of control. It became what it always should have been, a tool, not a promise. One evening, while cleaning out old emails, I found Nak's early messages, the ones filled with warmth. I read them once, then deleted them all, not out of bitterness, but because they belonged to a man I was no longer becoming. Sometimes people ask if I would go back to Thailand. I'd pause. Then I answer honestly, yes, but not to escape. Thailand was not the problem. Distance was. Distance between who I thought I was and who I needed to be. I still think about the cafe, not with longing, with clarity. It was never mine to lose. What I lost instead was something harder to quantify, naivety. And while that sounds tragic, it is not, because in its place grew something quieter, discernment. I no longer believe love should feel like urgency. I no longer confuse chaos with passion. I no longer invest in stories that cannot survive questions. If this sounds cold, it is not meant to be. It is calm. Sometimes, late at night, I imagine Markus, the man I was before Pattaya, sitting across from me. He looks hopeful, confident, certain. I do not judge him. I thank him. Because without his mistake, I would not have learned what boundaries feel like. I did not lose 400 CHF. I paid for an education I could not have received anywhere else. And maybe that is the hardest truth. Some lessons only reveal themselves when you are willing to risk everything.
And that was Markus' story, a tale not of heroism, nor of defeat, but of learning how quickly trust can be misplaced, and how resilience can quietly follow. Thailand does not hand out lessons loudly. It whispers. It tests. It waits to see if you notice before revealing the truth. Some footprints fade with the tides of experience. Others remain, pressed deep into the soul by what you have endured. If you have ever been deceived, misled, or learned hard truth far from home, you are not alone. Share your story with us at FarangFootprints@gmail.com. Your experience may become the next voice heard here. Until next time, walk carefully, trust wisely, and pay attention to the lessons hidden between the lines.